So Bitcoin, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, etc. has literally just bounced off the back of the news of the 90-day pause on the Trump tariffs. But is this a short-term risk-on rally? Does this change everything in terms of crypto, the financial market? Are we just looking at a blip and we're going to go higher? Or is this a fake out? So I'm going to cover the key news, the technical analysis, and my exact plan. Let's get into it. So stocks have surged due to the fact of the 90-day pause, which is interesting because we didn't see that coming, did we, boys and girls? No. Never believe a politician. That's a situation we've got to remember every time, right? And there's always been little pushbacks. There's been counter tariffs, which I'll talk about. But there's been other things as well where he's kind of went, I'm going to put this in, then we're going to pull back a little bit. The markets have really surged from this, which is the first step. The second step is it looks like this has totally changed now. My last video, if you've been watching it, you would have saw that it was around 49% that we're going to get a rate cut in May. Feels a little bit more unlikely now in terms of that sort of change, and you can see how that, the estimates have somewhat changed over the last couple of days. So, brings me to the next and most obvious point is the fact of what happens next. Well, counter tariffs have been stopped. So, EU, for example, have stopped theirs. The only thing that is on the cards at the minute is China, which is fair enough, but everything else has kind of went, ooh, boom, popped off like a rocket, so to speak. So, good for the markets in one sense, but ultimately, can we sustain? That is the situation we find ourselves in. The Nasdaq up 12%, the S&P up 9.52%. Big bounces and finally got the bounce. I spoke on my Patreon yesterday that I am unhappy with the fact that the bounce has been very minimalistic. It's been pretty poo. When you think about the drop that we've had, you'd expect something to happen. There wasn't. Now we've got it, finally. So in terms of the technical analysis, not a lot, in my opinion, has changed. I'm just going to say it out loud, and you might not like it. The reality is we did bounce. It is, it's a starting point, but we're still in a downtrend. We are still in somewhat of a downtrend. Not much in terms of candle closures on the 3-day time frame, literally, but on the daily, it's a bit more obvious, and you can see it. We have created a new low. That is where the situation is. We need to get above certain levels. We need to get a change of character. And until we wipe out basically this area here, I'm not convinced yet. And I know that might be quite bearish. So please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Good to know. Leave a like on the video as well. It majorly helps the algo. But more importantly, I want to know what you think. Do you think this is a fake out? Or do you think we're going to return to those all-time highs? Going back to COVID, we had a new high from the dump after 80 days. I think the S&P 500 about 151 days. I think we're not going to repeat the feat of that on the S&P anytime soon. I just don't see it. I just cannot see how we're going to smash through all these levels again and it go back to normal. Because at the end of the day, it is only a 90-day pause. Negotiations will happen. There will be probably something more concrete coming in the future that could lead to further downside movement. So when we look at the likes of Bitcoin, for example, right, we have behaved very much like the S&P 500. And I'll talk about my plan in a minute in terms of what I'm looking to do. But let's talk about the S&P because this is the bounce that we were expecting. That just shows you the significance of the bounce. It had to have a bounce at some point. It was dropping, and it has been dropping since literally a month after inauguration. We've created this obvious swing, and we had a huge jump downwards, downward leg. Now we're back into these levels of interest, which is important, I know. But for me, I'm not 100% convinced that this is just going to turn around and carry on. There's a lot of things that needs to happen. One, it'll probably pull back as well, see where other liquidity is. There was a little bit of FOMO yesterday in the market, which is very interesting. The VIX has absolutely nuked itself because of the volatility side of it. However, the likes of the Nasdaq, big, massive jump. But this is still in a downtrend. We need to get a level of consolidation. It needs to settle down. It needs to relax. And then we can plot our next move. I think too many people are getting very, very excited, which I understand why, because it's a big jump. But ultimately, markets go up, they go down, they also go sideways. In volatility terms, we need sideways action. We needed to just chill out, relax, just chill. So we'll see where it goes. In terms of this, is like, for example, with the Nasdaq, we need to get above this sort of region, realistically, to kind of change the trend, so to speak. But we'll see. There's a bit of a bit of a stretch still. So don't expect it to just happen overnight. Don't expect to get rich overnight buying random altcoins randomly, whatever. But that brings me on to the likes of the altcoins and stuff like that, because dominance of Bitcoin is still rising. It's still heavy. It's still going in the right direction. Monthly time frame, for example, is still looking pretty damn strong. The Ethereum dominance is, oh, what the hell, all the way back down to the lows of the data, so to speak, so not ideal. And when we look at the Ethereum BTC pair, it still looks like a dog's dinner. So I'm thinking altcoins are still off the menu currently. Certainly if you want to buy them, crack on, but I wouldn't recommend it just yet until you see a change of character. Why do I say that? It's because others/BTC is looking like it's going to go lower, potentially here. Others.D, we're at the buy good assets, but realistically we need to wait for a change of character and a change of trend. So what I would suggest, like anyone else, do your research, get a list, compile that watch list, make it nice and simple, and then go from there. But ultimately that whole boxy area where we're at the lows could actually get even lower. And that's a situation that we're finding ourselves with altcoins. These buy good assets, you know, it's getting harder and harder to quantify in terms of where we can go with it. That's the situation we're in. It's like altcoins have no interest. When do they get interest? Who the hell knows? And if we do get interest, take fucking profit up at the highs. Remember that one? Good. Hope that makes sense, Christ. Anyways, as I've alluded to it, obviously Ethereum looks like dog's dinner. This is what it looks like on the monthly time frame. When does this bottom? We don't know. And that's the ultimate situation. We've still not got that kind of throughput into altcoins yet. Even today, we've got Bitcoin down a little bit and altcoins down a lot more, apart from hype. Hype's doing really well. But other than that, there's been no real big push into altcoins, which is a bit alarming and a bit of a worry. So let's go on and talk about what I'm going to do. So my plan is all about Bitcoin at the minute. I am going to be trading altcoins, and you'll be able to see that on Learning Crypto or on Patreon in terms of what I'm trying to do in terms of basic swing trades. I'm not going to be an absolute mental trader. I'm definitely not. But my biggest situation that we have to kind of overcome realistically with Bitcoin is, one, yes, I bought the dip in the last video. You've seen that. I talked about it in very open terms. That bounce has been pretty good. It was a $75,000 level, but we have created a new low. Now, I alluded to it before. If you look on the line chart, if you keep it nice and simple and you're looking at the obvious swings, this, in my opinion, is where we need to break. We need to break that level. And I am not getting too excited yet until we break that level and have a somewhat of a change of character in the market. And that change of character would signify a potential change in trend. Basically, we're going to start maybe going up a little bit more. We've obviously had a big, massive push to the upside. We've consolidated a little bit up here and we've rolled over into a correction. That needs to kind of be the downtrend, and then we need to consolidate, and then we need to start going up again and reclaiming hopefully some of these levels. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. That's the thing. Because my biggest concern about all of this and everything that we all know about in terms of probability, we cannot predict what a politician's going to do. No offense to anyone who is a politician lover or fanboy, but they talk bollocks all the time, and I hate that. And when we talk about markets and the instability of the markets are obvious. They don't like instability. I don't. I hate my routine being butchered. I just, it's just the way it is. So that's kind of where we are right now. We've got to reverse engineer this a little bit and try and get above that zone. And then things might get a little bit tasty again, especially if you're a Bitcoin holder. Now, whether that means altcoins are going to fly or not, I don't know. My biggest concern is more to the point is the fact that when Bitcoin moves and moves in a gentle way, altcoins don't move. When Bitcoin's a bit more aggressive and it dumps or it pushes, altcoins move a little bit more. But normally when it goes down, it's quite aggressive. You can see that today. It's quite obvious today. It's a bit ugly today, isn't it? Not great if you're an altcoin holder. So yeah, dollar cost averaging in Bitcoin doesn't seem like a bad situation at the lows. Altcoins on the other hand, you just don't know what you're going to get. That's the situation we find ourselves. It's like with Donald Trump, we don't know what we're going to get. The S&P 500 hates it. You can see that. The Nasdaq hates it. Will the Magnificent Seven continue to grow? I don't know. That is a big, big question. So yeah, in terms of that, that is where I'm thinking we need to get above that before I start getting excited. If we're looking at obviously invalidations from that point, obviously the new low, this red box is still in play. So realistically, we've got one big, beautiful range here, you could argue, right? So try not to worry too much about it. And I know people will be like flapping about this, thinking, oh my God, here we go. But we've only just had one bounce. It's 1 day bounce. Chill out, relax. Just chill. Christ, it's fine then. So in terms of altcoins, just to give you a little bit of an update, realistically, I am not going to be heavy in altcoins for the foreseeable future. I just won't be. I may buy a couple, maybe one or two, if that. But this is a total 2/BTC chart. This is looking horrible. This is Ethereum and everything else, so to speak, without Bitcoin. And for me to get any sort of excitement out of this, we've got to change character. We've got to change trend completely. And that chart looks bogging. Now, I know some people in the comments will be like, it looks like fair value. I want to buy that. But the problem is, with altcoins right now, which is a little bit different, we're not getting any relief. We're not getting any bounces. Realistically, they're not bouncing enough, nowhere near enough. And every single thing, when you look at an altcoin, it's like, oh, that's a bit, what's happened here? Still in a downtrend, right? So that's the situation. Don't get caught out. Don't get tribalized. Do not get, suckered into, I'm going to buy this and hold it forever. Because I think there's a good chance you're going to get caught out. So there you go. I'm not convinced about this bounce just yet. I'm definitely not. But I have got levels ready just for pouncing, so to speak. There might be some nice pullbacks in the altcoin market for some potential trades. There may well be change of characters coming in, but they're quite a way off. We need to wait and see what happens. But yeah, let me know if you're buying this week. Let me know if you're sitting it out. Let me know if you're waiting, whatever. I want to know. And there's a video that I'm recommending which might well help you in terms of why I no longer hold as many altcoins.